Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be Tier T, a bot that's been recently getting some updates, and it shall be taking on BenBotBC, the Terran Turtle machine, which has been the best Terran bot for quite some time now, I think it's fair to say. It's tough to gauge certain bots because when they've got unique playstyles, it's like, well, which one's really better? It's like, it's difficult to say. But BenBot definitely holds up. It does very well on the ladder. So it's going to be a tall order for tier. But I do believe this should be a good match. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you haven't already, make sure to go ahead, click that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed. What are you doing? Why on earth wouldn't you be subbed to the only channel out there that puts out daily bot videos? And yeah, let's just see where this one goes, as we do have an SCV scout from tier. Likewise for BenBot. Now, this is actually quite a rare thing from BenBot in that it's not going for a proxy Rax in this game. That's something that BenBot has done probably like the last, I don't know, 20 games that I've watched. As it's just such a strong opening, the proxy Rax, proxy bunker, but maybe it thinks that tier isn't someone that will be victim to that, so it doesn't bother. We do have a sort of greedy double gas play from tier, greedy in the sense that it's a bold statement, and we'll need to get some damage done potentially in order to catch up to BenBot, which will have the economic lead. There is a nice couple of bunkers going up at the front for BenBot. It is a bot that likes to play it nice and safe. So we get an early combat shield out of tier, which is just a ridiculously bizarre opening. Seeing one base combat shield with a factory behind it. I mean, I guess this build could make sense. Like, you have the Rax, you're just trickling out Marines, so maybe make that trickle of Marines slightly better with combat shield. That definitely is not a build we see in pro play, but you never know. As Marines are good, and so is Combat Shield, we do get an Expo from tier later than that of BenBot's, but not like super duper late. The red Terran bot is still mining lots of gas here, getting out a siege tank next. That's quite a quick siege tank, and could have potential to go for a push or something like that. And yeah, let's just see where this one is going to go. Big thanks to everyone that is a YouTube member on the channel. It goes a long way to supporting. And yeah, let's see. We do have Stim Pack on the way behind that combat shield for tier. Then just a starport on the way. So getting out units quicker than BenBot, which is and has been focusing more on the economy. So BenBot will have a nice little SCV lead, a bit of a lead from having those quicker mules. We'll see if it can compound that, though, because sometimes BenBot is a little overcautious when it comes to taking like that third base, that fourth base. Sometimes other bots out-expand it. And tier very well could have the potential to do that. We do get a big SCV transfer as the natural comes online for tier, which is good to see. And yeah, I can actually go ahead and pull up tier's profile page here. And yeah, just one moment. I just want to see when it was last updated out of curiosity. It was last updated the 13th of July, 2025. Now, it's my understanding that tier was a bot that... It was my understanding that tier was a bot that used to do quite well in the tournaments, as... It is probably one of the first bots that I cast, because I started casting bots, I think, around when tier was really one of the better ones. And now it's been getting some updates again, which is cool to see. It played in Pro Bots, which you guys should definitely check out if you want to see bots playing in a tournament format with incredible production. And yeah, we'll just see how it's going to compare against such a good late game bot like BenBot. I do worry a little bit for Tier, as this game does have BenBot just sitting back and turtling up, and that's what it does best. So Tier may struggle to compete with that. It is building up a nice red Terran army here. But as far as the production goes, BenBot does have the 3rd command center on the way. It's already got the fusion core done. So there will be potential battle cruisers coming down the pipe, but there is little things that does slow BenBot down compared to its opponent, as we do see a 3rd command center building in the main. It's like, in this case, you could probably build it at the 3rd base. Now, Tier is building its own 3rd at the 3rd base, so I mean, these bases will probably be up and on location around the same time when you factor in that flight location, or that flight duration, pardon me. Now, Tier is looking to get aggressive against its opponent. BenBot has 1 tank defensively, 2 Vikings to control the skies, and a battle cruiser on the way. The red Terran does have Ravens, though, to help support this. The tanks are sieging up, inching forward, and it doesn't quite have vision on that yet. Now, BenBot has seen what it's up against, as the bunker is getting shelled away. The Ravens are eating Viking shots, and they want to provide vision, but they also want to stay alive. Unfortunately, it does seem they are allowing those Vikings to get shots off on them, so 1 Raven dies. The second one very well may go down here. It does path more towards the north, as that northern bunker is now being shelled, and Tier does get a little bit of damage done here. In a perfect world, you would kill your opponent when you've invested in 5 tanks. BenBot does move forward with those Marines out of the bunker. They get deleted. The problem is, though, that Tier doesn't have air control. In order to push and abuse the vision, we are getting a battle cruiser coming forward for BenBot, which could be very nice, as these Marines will try and contend with that. The BC just targets down 1 of the tanks, as the rest of the Marines need to get there and help out. The Raven is probably going to die. 2 tanks are now gone. The Marines are dying, and the battle cruiser is shutting this push down. A Viking comes in for Tier, but it is exactly that, a Viking, not anymore, as BenBot will clean this up, and Tier does eventually realize, like, yeah, this push isn't working out, but not before it loses what is 4 tanks, and losing the Ravens too definitely hurts. So Tier does have to go on home, and it will have to begin planning on how it's going to deal with these battle cruisers. We do get the Cyclones on the way, which is cool to see. Cyclones are very good in this day and age. Their lock-on is just incredibly powerful. Now, a Raven for Tier does come forward. That's quite unfortunate. Looks like it wanted to group up with those tanks, but it shall just die. These other tanks are sieging up. We have a Cyclone, which is the natural enemy of a battle cruiser, so BenBot goes ahead and deletes that with a Yamato cannon. There was another Cyclone building, so where is that? It needs to get to the front lines, as this 4th base that Tier was attempting to get up is in some trouble. The BC is taking damage, though, and there is probably an HP threshold, so it will teleport home at some point, I imagine. Cyclone, meanwhile, locks on to 1 of these Vikings, kills it off. That cooldown's pretty short, so we'll see if it can grab another, and it almost kills it. So the power of the Cyclone showing there. Now, economically, things are still looking all right for BenBot, though. It's got a 4th base on the way. Tiers was, well, is on the way as well, but BenBot's is already done, and it's actually an orbital, which is really nice to see. Sometimes one of the few things I could criticize BenBot on was the fact that it went for too many planetaries. In this game, it's going to have a roaring mule economy, and we'll be able to spit out a ton of units. A 5th base is also on the way. Tier does have a 4th base finishing up. We'll see if it starts up its own 5th right after that. Some of the bots are sequential like that, but still no 5th from Tier. A little bit of Hellion harassment does get shut down. BenBot likes those scouting Hellions, and we see divergence here. BenBot is playing mech, going for battle cruisers and tanks, whereas Tier is investing in those bio upgrades, getting 2-2 on the way for its Marines. And then we actually get Tier moving out to secure up a 5th base on location. BenBot's got 2 BCs moving out, and they may be intercepted here. The concern is they're going to have 2 Yamato cannons, which is 2 guaranteed kills. The BCs do get identified. The army of Tier is responding. The tank does get saved. 1 Cyclone goes down. A 2nd one does get Yamato'd as well. Looks like the battle cruiser will be repulsed, but still, that's quite a loss for Tier, losing 2 Cyclones for not much. just some HP on the BCs. Now, BenBot does have its own 5th base getting established, so 5-5 bases as these two embrace the macro game against one another, and this is where things are going to get really cool, as we do have THORS on the way now, 4 tier, and that will definitely help out against these BCs. At the same time, they are a big Yamato cannon, so it can kind of be a double-edged sword. I mean, it's like if you go just Marines against battle cruisers, it's like, okay, well, the battle cruisers can't Yamato anything, so you take that away from them, but when you do have those high value targets, it kind of provides a higher value reward for the battle cruisers. Tier's getting up this 5th base. It's building a sensor tower, no turrets though, and the battle cruisers do continue to pose a threat to this base. As one more BC comes in, the tanks are unsieging. There's the THORS, the first THORS anyway, coming out to help. There is currently no plus attack on them. They are getting 1-2 upgrades though, so those attack upgrades on the THORS are incredibly important against the battle cruisers. And let's see, THORS working away on the BCs. Looks like one eats a Yamato cannon. It will want some repair. I'm not sure if any SCVs will be summoned to do that or not though, as yet another battle cruiser is found, but it does drop a Yamato cannon, and that is a dead Thor, which is really painful for Tier. Tier's mining from this 5th base. It's attempting to get up a 6. Meanwhile, BenBot does have up that important corner base. And this base is this map is definitely interesting because there's kind of like 2 corner bases. Now, looks like the BCs are still getting some nice pickoffs. THORS can definitely help zone out the Vikings. BenBot, though, is just about maxed out, saying it's going to attack with tanks. And Tier's quite out of position in order to respond to this threat. Medivac sort of lollygag forward into the Vikings, which is not good to see. Now, this orbital command may be saved by these tanks coming forward. It's actually going to be a tank versus tank engagement as the tanks of Tier do move forward. And I'm not sure if they're in range of each other or not. Cyclones, though, are helping out for Tier. Almost kill off one of those tanks. Another one does go down. Battle cruisers, though, are causing problems. Vikings coming in to help out. The Thor as well, getting lots of damage done while these Marines lay down their lives in order to buffer against the battle cruisers, forcing the BCs away with enough Viking shots. The Vikings for Tier do not currently have any ship upgrades, which definitely hurts them, as the red Terran bot is falling down in supply and being bullied off this base. Tier does have 3 Thors still, which can definitely find some success. There's 2 tanks on the ground for BenBot, though. Viking versus Viking. BenBot's got the upgrade lead in that regard. 1 Thor does eat some tank shots, which is not good. So Tier does lose a base, and BenBot is securing the bottom left. So things are looking quite nice for the Blue Terran. Like, Tier still has a good economy. Just I look forward to the next 10 minutes or so, and it's like, okay, at some point, BenBot does have more bases than Tier. We are actually seeing yet another base be taken. Only this base hasn't been secured. Tier looks like it's pathing something there, though, which could be very important, as the red Terran bot has kind of just elected to chill. It is repairing the Thors a little bit. Repairing them up so they don't get one-shot by the Yamatos would be quite nice. BenBot moves forward with some more tanks. They are being gobbled up by the red Terran's army. So the BCs really are the main strength of BenBot's army. And yeah, Tier, let's see, it's still getting 3-3 upgrades on the way. We are seeing ship weapons. I hear the tag, jump enemy base, though, as the battle cruisers jump onto this location. The Thors kind of just pads right under there. Triple Yamato cannon gets queued up. That deals with a few of the Thors. Once it's revealed a few are still alive, another couple do get queued up. And Tier is in a lot of trouble. One of those BCs flies to the main base. It does die. Now more of them are actually flying over. I'm guessing they're trying to fly to the corner of Tier's base to safety where they can just sort of pool up, but that's a very long distance. So this plan from BenBot is actually having big consequences, as those BCs literally flew over a turret, a bunch of Vikings. They also notably don't have Yamato cannon or teleport to save themselves from the Vikings of Tier. So what seemed like a smart play from BenBot was very costly, losing a big number of battle cruisers. Now, BenBot can't afford to lose those, though, as it is presently 187 supply to 145. I do apologize about the having to turn off chat and sound there, as we do get BenBot spamming chat. I'm not sure what it is. I might actually reach out to the bot author about that. Fortunately, the Starcraft soundtrack absolutely slaps. Yeah, I think might actually shoot the bot author a message like, hey, would you be willing to do us a favor and maybe put a rate limit on those error messages or something? But understandably, if not, I mean, having your bot give you the info you need to debug it is more important than a little bit of annoying sounds. Unfortunately, they can't be disabled individually in StarCraft 2. I guess, I mean, I don't know if you could actually mod the game because, like, presumably Blizzard would check that. So, like, I don't think I could just mute that sound file or whatever it is. Who knows? Maybe I could, and I should look into that. Anyway, we do have Tyr just holding back, grouping up its army, and then BenBot is moving out for yet another attack here, as we do have the Vikings of Tyr flying back and forth. And yeah, just forming up a nice little death ball, which is not something we see from a lot of Terran bots. As, yeah, Tyr's army is quite formidable. Lots of Vikings grouped up, and a lot of the good bot engagements come from grouping up. So Tyr does actually kill quite a few of BenBot's Vikings, which is very nice. There is plenty of battlecruisers out once again, though, and the problem is that Tyr is still only on 5 bases, whereas BenBot has secured all these other bases. So gosh, it's got a lot more bases than its opponent. Battlecruisers do get repulsed pretty quickly, thanks to all this damage from Tyr. Tyr is still rolling with more upgrades on the way. 3-3 for the Thors will definitely help out. BenBot, meanwhile, is getting its own bio 3-3, which is comical because it's got 2 Marines out presently. One Thor is out on the map. It may get killed by a tank, and it will get killed by a tank. That's quite unfortunate. Now, Tyr is electing to move out for an attack, as it does find that BenBot has a planetary at that location. So very cool touch from BenBot, building its home bases as orbital commands, but then the more contested ones as PFs, which is quite important. The blue Terran has a much higher income than its opponent, but we actually did have yet another teleport here from BenBot onto this location, and the battlecruisers just make for the corner, but quite a few of them will go down in the process there, as yeah, the BC is flying over the turrets and then getting hunted down by the Vikings. I believe they probably used their Yamato cannon. Meanwhile, there is a push at the front from the Vikings of BenBot, but that was quite the committed play. Tyr's Vikings do find this. BenBot's BCs are programmed to stay in the corner till they're safe and off teleport cooldown, but in this case, they are just sitting ducks. So the base layout really punishing BenBot. Somehow that one BC managed to stay alive, so a very lucky battlecruiser. Now, that was a lot of supply lost for BenBot. Resources lost-wise, though, it's still out-traded Tyr, and it does still have more bases than its opponent. BenBot is coming in with one more BC that does actually go down, which is quite painful. We'll see if there's enough Vikings to actually kill off this other one. Looks like that one will escape, though. But Tyr's just army grouping is doing incredibly well by it. And then we do have, let's see, +3 attack on the way. Tyr has another armory on the way, which, I mean, I guess they technically can use at this point in the game. It rebuilt the turrets, too, which is very cool to see. The red Terran is still building up an army. And then we do have BenBot poking with these Vikings, but it's got a lot of BCs to rebuild. It's actually electing to go for a lot of its own Vikings, which is good to see. BenBot not just going for those suicidal battle cruisers once again. And as long as BenBot stays on all these bases, it doesn't have anything to worry about. We've got the Vikings working away on another battlecruiser. That one actually gets sent home before it can even drop a spell. Viking versus Viking is still going quite nice for Tyr. It's presently 25 down to 42, which is very significant. It's definitely not 4 bases significant. So Tyr's going to need to get some more work done. Its lack of ship attack may be showing a little bit in these Viking engagements, as they're just not getting as much mileage as Vikings should. Now, BenBot does teleport in some BCs to try and save this base, but Tyr killed that off so quickly with this just massive mech army. So Tyr does kill a base of BenBot, which is really, really nice. The blue Terran is rebuilding SCVs, but I mean, it's got 6 starports, so it could be building more battle cruisers, as it is actually down in supply a little bit. Widowmine hits the Thor, which is nice. Now, Let's see, Tyr is looking to move on out. This base actually is an orbital command, which is a rare time that BenBot's getting punished for not building a planetary, it seems. And then Tyr does roll down towards the bottom left. BenBot tries to teleport in some battle cruisers to help out, but it's just not happening, as those BCs, they teleport in, then they try to run for it, and they are getting shot down as they try and fly on home. So Tyr's just army grouping is really, really punishing BenBot in this game. Now these Vikings are doing their thing. And yeah, let's see, as this base isn't even a planetary to try and defend itself. So Tyr rolls on forward, Vikings getting good volleys off. The grouping of Tyr is very real. The Red Terran has some nice production too, and is remaining maxed out during these fights. Now the Thors of BenBot could be something to fear, as they are being repaired, more Vikings coming in. Quite an army is present here for the Blue Terran, as Vikings are shooting back and forth. And yeah, just Tyr's got 16 Vikings in a ball, and BenBot's not pooling its own Vikings to the extent it needs to deal with something like this. Then Tyr has all this fantastic anti-air on the ground. The Thors, the Cyclones, the Marines do pretty well against most things in the skies. And then we're even just getting +3 ship weapons on the way, so the Vikings will actually be getting better for Tyr, as it almost kills off yet another BC. It's working on the Vikings of BenBot, but BenBot just doesn't seem to have the production. Now Tyr is trying to break Fort Knox, which is the tanks and bunkers at the front of BenBot's base, but the snowball just seems so real right now. Both these bots are trading out at such an incredible rate. Tyr's actually eating through its bank, replacing all the units that it's losing. BenBot has got a big bank, but it doesn't have enough production presently. It is maxing out all its starports, so BenBot may need more production here. Tyr does roll towards this base on the right, and the tanks will do very well at shutting this down. The Marines, I think, are killing off the SCVs, and so that planetary will perish. Tyr, though, does have some of its tanks a little exposed, so battlecruisers working on those, but then the Vikings are still just doing so darn well. BenBot has built up a nice fleet of its own Vikings, though. It's currently 8-8, which is so darn close. BenBot's got the upgrade lead. Of course, it's got the BCs to support, so Tyr may actually be losing that critical Viking lead. Of course, it's still got the Thors and the Marines to help out. However, both sides have just traded out a ridiculous amount of stuff. BenBot has had all these extra bases this game, but it's actually eaten through a lot of its bank. We are seeing Tyr secure the bottom left. It does have this location, Happily Mining, which is giving it the money to replace a lot of these units. BenBot got knocked down to 50 SCVs. This Thor is a monster, up to 29 kills, and it will eventually go down to this planetary, but it did get some nice worker damage as BenBot lost 115 SCVs this game. The Red Terran is still building up its force. I'm a little surprised to see that Tyr has actually done so well in the late game against BenBot, but this is not good. Losing Vikings. Tyr's doing what BenBot did, which is just trickling them in one by one. And that's just how, like, initial fights can really determine how a game of StarCraft 2 goes, like which bot defends and which bot attacks, and then whoever's sort of just the one that's trickling in reinforcements can really be punished for it. Tyr does still have the Thors and the Marines to force away these BCs, which it's doing a good job of, and that's quite important, doing damage to these battlecruisers, as BenBot doesn't have a ton of cash to repair, being down to a smaller income than that of Tyr after losing those critical bases. Vikings are landing and are going to engage the Thors. Vikings deal very well versus mechanical units, but I mean, well is not enough to overcome a 4v3 fight. Now, Tyr is mining at this base in the bottom left. That's super critical. The BCs of BenBot, though, are floating in. That's really important, too, as Tyr isn't quite in position to defend this, and that could really hurt. BenBot's getting up its own orbital command at this base, so BenBot reestablishing that base is huge. The Red Terran has had a chance to rebuild its Viking fleet, though, and BenBot has actually lost all its own Vikings. Yamato cannons are going down on some of the Vikings, but these BCs are just trying to float on home. I guess they're on teleport cooldown, or a lot of them are, since they had recently teleported to retreat. A Thor goes down, but that is not a good trade for BenBot. Tyr holds on to these two critical bases. The question will be, can it push on in towards this base of BenBot? Because like, BenBot has these two equally as critical bases. This base is rather mined out due to all of the mule dropping that has already taken place. So, like, both of these bots have a decent income, but it's not going to last forever, as Tier has 50 SCVs on this base. I didn't even realize there's so many. There must be a lot transferring out here. As, oh, there they go. Yeah, Tier is really mining out all its other locations. So it's like, well, I guess send the workers in there. Now, that's definitely got potential, because if Tier's army does grow, if it throws away some SCVs, that would be a big deal. Vikings do actually kill off another of BenBot's battle cruisers, so Tier retains the Viking lead. BenBot, though, is building lots of them. And this game could very well come down to one big fight. But BenBot does poke in with a smaller supply, and this is the kind of thing that really punishes the blue Terran. I apologize. I should just give up trying to turn the sound back on. Yeah, and let's see here as we do get Tier moving on out. Looks like it's going to try and hit the upper right of BenBot. At the same time, that is leaving the critical, like, 60 SCVs of Tier exposed. It does sort of split the difference and transfer some over to that base in the bottom left, and we do see this base actually starting to mine out. There's a trickle of units for Tier heading on back in order to save this location, which is a good response. And, I mean, does Tier know about this base? Yes, it does. Just a handful of Vikings for the Red Terran are skirmishing, which is not good. It needs to fight all as one. BenBot is building more Vikings. It is building a new command center. I didn't even realize it had lost this base and not rebuilt it. One Thor is being a villain moving forward, fighting the battle cruisers, forces it to teleport out. It mustn't have had Yamato cannon. No, it didn't. And BenBot needs to repair these BCs. So presently, BenBot doesn't have a lot to answer to a Thor, but what better answer to a Thor than its own Thor? I mean, the Red Thor did kill off a decent number of Marines. Tier is actually dropping mules on these mineral patches, which is cool to see, bringing some of the money from that location. That is some late game thought put into the bot. And yeah, let's see. SCV is attacking a turret of BenBot as BenBot wanted to secure up this location. We do have Vikings still flying all around. And yeah, BenBot is just broke as a joke. It's mining gas from these bases, but there's not a ton left. As this base in the upper right is out of gas. Yeah, there's maybe only like 500 more gas for BenBot to mine, whereas Tier has a better supply, not a perfect one. It's got just those refineries in the bottom left, I believe. So neither bot is flush with resources, but Tier has managed to maintain that 200 supply mark. BenBot's just repeatedly shot itself in the foot by trying to fight with a smaller army than its opponent, which does really highlight that building up and grouping up your units can have a lot of effect. And, like, we don't really talk about it in these bot games in which... Yeah, we don't really talk about it in these bot games, like, because we're always highlighting the very important micro of the bots. It's like, oh, it's controlling a cyclone endlessly or something like that. But at the same time, if you're always trading out and your opponent just builds up a big old army, you might not have success. And I think that's what we've reached at this point, as Tier is in a very commanding position. BenBot has a tiny army. It's just got a few Vikings flying around, and yeah, like the army management of BenBot may need some tweaks to overcome something like this. Like, I don't know if BenBot wins most of its games against Tier, though, and this could just be an exception. Like, a lot of things went right for Tier, such as the BCs trying to fly to the corner, flying over the turrets and into all the production, and then Tier being able to kill off the planetaries and then secure them. Like, a lot of things have to go right. For example, if BenBot sort of pokes in itself and then Tier's army abandons that attack, then maybe Tier runs out of steam sooner. Lots of little things could have changed in this game. I do believe we have a victor here, though, in Tier, as BenBot just keeps trying to build turrets at this base. Interesting how neither of the bots re-expanded here. I mean, there was a little bit of money still left there, and definitely a lot of gas, which would help out BenBot for sure. I mean, BenBot's still trickling out units, but it's just not pooling them up enough. We see like 2 Vikings flying around. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched all the way to this point in the game, click that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then join the Discord. As I even got a new bot in the channel, which actually Just, it doesn't ping everyone, it just makes a message whenever there is a new video. So that's another way to get notified whenever I put up new videos. There, yeah. And just a slow victory, but what a comeback from Tier. It's not a lot of games in which you see a bot actually being down on bases, down on army, and then managing to come back. BenBot made a few mistakes, but Tier's army grouping was quite impressive, so nice to see the old dog still has it. Space with 71 out of 6 SCVs there. Tier will be pushing on in to clean this up. Thors versus Marines, what a fight. As Thors are helping clean everything up. But it won't take long with this much army supply from Tier. BenBot losing all its SCVs in what is an absolute massacre. And then Tier will try and kill this planetary. I don't think we're going to get a stalemate or anything like that. Widowmine's going off. No scan from Tier. There's the scan. Couple tanks for BenBot. And they may get a good amount of kills. There is a world in which, like, Tier runs out of resources and doesn't have enough stuff to actually kill BenBot, so it's a draw. But it's got 200 supply and 3,000 minerals in the bank, so 3,000 gas in the bank, so these tanks would have to kill off a lot of stuff. And that is going to be that. GG.